Hi and welcome to my channel. I'm Alessandra and I'm talking about how to raise children with mixed origins and how to help them, support them to build their own identity. I hope you have seen the other two videos I have set up. So now getting back to the main question after we have talked about some basic details, let's say. The point is, what is the difference and how can we influence, what is the difference between identity and personality, because we are talking about the same person. So for me, the point is the identity is what you feel from the inside, what you have to develop, what in most cases, if there are no influences from outside, it develops on its own without you realizing. But if you are in the situation that you have different origins, or that you have moved to another country as a child, or that you were born in a country which is different from the countries of your parents, then you will have to develop your own identity. And the more you do this consciously and you know about the topics that may arise, the easier it is for you. So that is the main topic of my channel and my videos. So let's take identity as what you feel inside, what is your identity, which you have defined or you have developed, and personality, what people see from the outside. So normally, if you don't have any disorder, mental disorder or something else, normally you have one identity, but whenever you are in contact with other persons, with other people, you adapt to the situation, you adapt to the person, you try to adapt to them. And so at the end, what might be perceived as your personality changes a little bit, hopefully not in the core, but a little bit, depending on if you talk to your mother, to a friend, to a person in the supermarket, or to a teacher, or to just a stranger on the street. You act differently, and this influences how your identity is perceived, means how your personality is perceived from the outside. And this is why it is so important to be aware of the situation, because several persons will perceive you completely differently, or at least slightly differently. And it can also happen that people who know you even very well might not be aware of all the traits of your identity, of course, because you can't show the whole bunch of it. Of course, the longer you know a person, the closer you are to them, if it's family or a really, really close friend, they know you very well. But for instance, me being a highly sensitive person, and in that being an extroverted introvert, this is something that almost nobody realizes. So already this combination is strange, I know, and it means that I am shy, I am introverted, as long as I am not within my inner circle, or as long as I am not feeling secure with my closest friend or with my family. And but once I feel secure, then I am almost extroverted. And if I am in a professional surrounding, in my business surrounding, where I have to sometimes stand there and have presentations in front of tens or at least many people, I am talking about my business and I feel secure about it. So I just go there as the official person and I hold my presentation, and I don't have a problem with that. So those people know me as open person, as open personality. And If then let's say at a dinner in the evening, I say, yeah, but I am shy, they laugh in my face because they don't know me. So we are talking about the same person, but how this personality is perceived is very different. What a strange thing that I realized here in Switzerland is that depending on what I say to people where I come from, the reaction is completely different. In Switzerland, I am perceived, as soon as I open my mouth and talk German, as a German, because my German is the High German. I don't talk the local dialect. I think it's strange to start talking a dialect when you know the High language. I wouldn't start talking in Sicilian dialect if I would live there, because it's not my dialect. So dialect is a very personal thing that, in my opinion, you should use when you are born there, when it is somehow, again, defining your identity and defining your community. So here in Switzerland, when I talk German, I talk High German. And not every Swiss person loves this, what they call the big canton. They perceive Germans as being very tough, as being very bossy sometimes, too direct, and not as polite as Swiss people. So if I talk to strangers here in Switzerland and I don't say anything, they perceive me as being German. If I then say, oh, by the way, I'm Italian, it is just a sudden change of perception, because then all this energy they perceive in my personality goes from the German raw to the Italian raw. And that means that they have this cliche of the energetic Italian temperament, and this funny lady who talks with her hands and is always smiling. And so just from 1 minute to the other, from faces who are trying to identify if I am trying to bully them or to give them orders, it switches to, oh, that's a funny lady. Another example that shows this difference is that people try to define your personality not in the good way as mentioned right now, but in what I perceive as a bad way. It happened once that we were at a barbecue party and there was a soccer game going on, and Switzerland was playing against, I don't even remember whom, and it was not Italy, but I was just not really a fan of any of both teams, but a bit more for the other. And the Swiss lady, she really grounded me, telling me that if I lived in Switzerland, I had to be a fan of the Swiss team. So she was telling me that what I was expected to do, to feel, because of my being in Switzerland, which is again wrong. So nobody has the right to tell you what you have to feel and who you should team for and all of that. It's just you to define it. And if this happens to you as a grown-up, let's say you are 40, 50 years old, you can react to it with, this consciousness of, you will not tell me who I am. But if this happens to you as a child or as a teenager, where the whole identity thing is not yet settled and you are not feeling secure about it, then it might be disturbing. So before analyzing the single aspects that might influence the development of an identity, some I mentioned already. Is it the language? Is it the country? Is it the country of origin of the parents? Is it the skin color? Is it the education? Is it the religion? Is it, so there are many, many aspects that might influence, and where everybody should be able to pick up the puzzle pieces, as mentioned in my second video, that build up your identity as you feel it. Because it's not intentionally, oh, I want to invent my identity and I want to be this and that. Of course, this happens at a certain point a little bit in everybody, but normally you just have a feeling and you look for certain criteria or puzzle pieces, as mentioned, that build it up, that help you build your whole identity in the course of the time. So before we look at all these criteria, 4 points that for me are crucial. So the basic one, of course, every human being must define or must be able to define their own identity. All individuals around them have their own view of their personality, of course, but they are the ones who define their identity. Secondly, the identity and the personality depend on many different criteria, reaching from purely external traits to very detailed internal values, let's say. And the origin or origins of every human influence their attitudes and their behaviors. And they are part of their identity and thus personality development. And then, of course, couples of different origins that maybe then even live in a third country, having children, have to be aware that their own origins will influence the identity of their child or of their children, and they should support their children in this topic. So what can parents do that live in the described situation, having different origins, one from the other, and then maybe living in a third country with a child which is born in the new country or in the old country? It doesn't matter. Everything is defining or influencing the identity of this child. So the main problem is to become aware of your origins and your maybe moving to another country influencing the identity of the child. And as mentioned before, that is the biggest problem, because as long as you didn't have a problem on your own, you don't realize that there is a problem. So first of all, you have to become aware of it, and then you have to find out what are the single criteria that influence the development of the identity of your child. And there I mentioned already a few, but we will talk more in detail about every single one. And you can see this very clearly as soon as somebody asks your child, "Where are you from?" Because what do they mean with that question? Where I live, where I was born, where my father comes from which country, where my mother comes from, where my ancestors come from. So how far do you want to get back in defining where do you come from? It's impossible, and there are very clear lives where there is no move, and there are lives that are very puzzled, let's say. And I know it that sometimes you are asked where you're from, and you stand there and you don't know how many details do you want to know, how much time do you have. For me, it's not even that long, but I know of several people who have so many different influences in their lives. If they would start talking about all those details, it would become a long story. Look at all the Americans with all the origins from Europe, from Africa, from Asia, and all of that mixed together. How far back do you want to go? So normally the best reaction to where do you come from is how much time do you have? And then again, looking at all those criteria, the point is there is not one criteria that influences, and you can't say how many are influencing, at which point are they influencing, and they are not influencing uniquely. So they are all interconnected. So what you can do as a parent is try to get the picture of this puzzle. So try to find all the single puzzle pieces and put them together, and then look at it with your child, and then tell the child, listen, this is part of your origin, this is part of your heritage, these are all the puzzle pieces that are at your disposal. And this disposal is the key word. The child then has to look at all those single pieces and decide which ones he or she feels as their own, as building their identity, and which ones they don't care for, which is perfectly fine. And that is the point. The child has to decide which parts, which puzzle pieces they want to pick up. And they have every right to then change their opinion. So at 5 years old, they might say, I'm Mexican, and 2 years later, they might say, I'm Mexican with a Finnish mother, or whatever. So it's you have to tell your children that they have the right to decide, and to decide again at a later step, because you can't say from birth on which ones will be influencing. And maybe then you move to another country, or they have a best friend which is from Ghana, and this best friend is also influencing and is telling them about their culture, and maybe they go to Ghana to work there for a year, and then this is influencing their identity. You never know. So identity is nothing set in stone, which is not changeable. So this is the video of today. I hope it was interesting enough for you. If you didn't see the first ones, please go and check them. And if you have any comments, please just add them. I try to answer them in the comments directly. And if it's an interesting topic that maybe I didn't think about, I would then like to include it in a later video. So please like my video, please subscribe to my channel. It would help me immensely. And see you next week. And be kind.